Welcome to season 4 of The Circle, the season that will forever be known for the worst catfish in the history of The Circle. I just can't even wrap my head around Parker, aka Paul, and her absolutely pathetic attempt at being her dad, Paul. And one of my favorite parts of the whole episode was her creating her profile and saying, hey, I want to keep this as accurate as I can to my dad. And then not even 10 seconds later, changing his occupation and changing it to something that she'll never be able to have any sort of backup for. Like, what sort of marriage advice is 21-year-old Parker going to be laying on everybody? And it was just mistake after mistake after mistake. Like, has anyone been called out as a catfish faster? And it's not even that the profile was a little wonky. It was like as soon as she started talking, people were just like, what is going on here? And as evidenced by our rankings, with Paul, aka Parker, landing in dead last. I would be shocked if Paul slash Parker survives even this first eviction from The Circle, because this might be the worst. Parker might be the worst player in The Circle history. I know we're only four seasons in, but no matter how long this show goes on, Parker might be the worst player ever. Besides Parker, we did have some interesting people come into The Circle. One other catfish. It was also someone playing their parent, but this time it was John playing his mom, Carol, and did this wild and crazy thing where he actually remembered who his mom was and just played it as his mom. I think that's going to create some very interesting situations, like we already saw when we had the girls chat and Alyssa started talking about being an assistant to a sex coach, and we saw John get real awkward as the direction of that conversation changed quite dramatically. And eventually, for some reason, John asked for some sex advice from Alyssa. You know what, John? You played such a great game in this first episode, and I think you had everybody fooled. But I think that would have been a situation where you probably could have just faded to the back a little bit and not had to go all in. Because really, would your mom be going to a sex therapist to ask for sex advice? And even if she was, is that something that you'd want to know about? Probably not. Along with Carol being one of our favorite players of the week, who was second in the rankings, we had Frank, who was, in my opinion, a slam dunk number one for this first episode. You know, as soon as they went to the ratings, I called out Frank and Carol as the number one and number two, and that is exactly who it was. Frank just seems like a nice person, and I honestly think that is the strategy for The Circle. Just be nice. That's one of the very interesting things about The Circle is, it's not about being ruthless and cutthroat and cunning. It's just about having people like you. And in my experience in life, the number one way to do that is just be nice. And Frank was that in spades. And also, I think that it helped immensely that Frank was part of that initial group of four, which was Frank Yuling, Carol, and Alyssa. I think that was a huge advantage for the week one rankings, being part of that group. I know that Yuling did not land up at the top. She ended up in sixth, which I think was a result of people just not really connecting with Yuling right out of the gate. And I thought that Yuling did better after we had the first ratings get cast. And my guess would be if they redid the rankings at the end of the episode, that she would not have landed in 6th. Just back to Frank for a minute. We got a very interesting twist at the end where Frank was selecting between 2 profiles. I think I forgot the names. I think it was Jared, who was supposed to be a 28-year-old children's author, and Trey, who looked like a 24-year-old influencer. But we got that beautiful, beautiful twist at the end of the episode. And, you know, there's probably going to be a lot of Spice Girl lip syncing and karaoke in the episodes for the rest of the season. Loved seeing that. 2 of the Spice Girls coming in at the very end. I love this kind of twist. I loved it when they had, I can't remember her name now, the lady from Too Hot to Handle, who was an absolute treasure on Too Hot to Handle, an absolute treasure in the circle. And I loved them doing that. And to me, this is like the perfect game for it. You know, you don't know if somebody is who they say they are. They can come in, they can play just like anybody else, and us watching are going to benefit immensely. Who else did we miss? We touched on Yuling, touched on Carol, Alyssa. I don't think we got too much from her on episode 1. You know, basically she's hinging her whole game on being the assistant to a sex therapist, which I just don't know if that's going to go well long term, because yeah, some people may be into it, but I could definitely see there being other people in the circle who are not all about that. Krissa, really loved her right off the bat. You know, unfortunately, she was part of that second group along with Brew, and I think that being in that second group was a disadvantage for those 2. Krissa seemed like she was rapidly rising in popularity, but being part of that second group just kind of put her on the outside looking in for our first ranking. Brew, you know, you see a big dorky white guy, of course I'm going to be rooting for him off the bat. I liked him. You know, wasn't a huge fan that he's a radio DJ, but he seemed like he's pretty interesting and should be at least fun to watch for the season. So I'm gonna get out of here. Next episode, we got our first person getting kicked off. We got the Spice Girls coming in. It should be a lot of fun this season. As always, everybody, thank you so much for watching. And until next time, we will see you later.